I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another instrument video for you. And today I've actually got a comparison video. So I have done at least one review in the past of Yamaha's YSL-891Z custom small bore tenor trombone. This has been a model I've had in the shop many times over the years and been a personal favorite of mine, but I've not had as much of a chance to spend time with its smaller sibling, the 897Z. So it just so happened that I had both arrive in the shop at the same time, and I said, well, this is the perfect time for a comparison video. So I'm going to be putting both of them side by side so that you can really hear what are the differences in the timbre, the response, the sound quality, all of these different things really side by side with them. And then, of course, I will talk about the experience afterwards. I'm going to be playing both of these on their most open lead pipes here, whether it's the LA lead pipe or the Z1 lead pipe. And I'm going to be playing all of this on my trusty Bach 7C. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've certainly spent time talking about the 891Z and frankly all of Yamaha's many different professional and frankly even intermediate offerings as well. Yamaha continues to be a real favorite in the shop for a lot of folks for a lot of different reasons. Not only just the quality of their build, the consistency of their build, but for their playing. Yamaha seems like they're always looking forward, they're always trying to improve, and one of the things that I've seen in that development, obviously, is in their small bore tenor trombone. So we have both the 891 and the 897Z. So like I mentioned, this is kind of the larger sibling, smaller sibling. Certainly Yamaha is far from the first to offer, these different models going, well back through the history into the very early 20th century and probably even before, as far as offering different small bore tenor options. But in this specific case, we've got the 897Z, which they designed with the great Andy Martin and the great Canadian trombonist Alistair Kay. And this is a dual bore 484 490 dual bore 7.5 inch yellow brass bell. Yellow brass outer tubes, nickel silver crook, and of course we have the two interchangeable lead pipes, and then we have the 891Z, the 508 version. So we can think of this, a little bit 2B versus 3B. So the 891Z again is a 508 bore. 8-inch yellow brass bell, same yellow brass outer tubes, nickel silver crook, same removable lead pipes. One of the interesting things with Yamaha with their removable lead pipes is versus doing different tapers, they've done different lengths. And so in this case, I went with the shortest of both options, which for most people means that it feels a little bit more open. So whether the Z1 or whether the LA model versus the Z2, which is going to be longer, or the New York on the 891Z, which is going to be longer as well. Like I would expect out of these different bore sizes, I certainly noticed differences in the timbre, differences in the response. I've talked about this before. I tend to be a little bit bigger player, at least when it comes to small bore tenors. I tend to lean a little bit more towards 508 setups, and I certainly experienced things with the 897Z that reminded me, okay, this is why I prefer that kind of setup a little bit more. One of the big things I personally run into with the disparities in the bore sizes is I don't have quite the same accuracy with the smaller bores. Now, as far as overall accuracy, I mean, the 897Z played as well as any instrument of this bore size that I played. And what I really did find is even though I felt like on especially multiple articulations, I had to work a little bit differently. I didn't feel like I got the same clarity out of it. At the same time, I really did think I could hear the lines coming through. I felt like the accuracy within the lines was great. I just wasn't very comfortable with the articulation having the fluidity that I was hoping for. That in comparison with the 508, the 891Z here, again, I just felt like I had a little bit easier time slotting. I felt like I had a little bit easier time with the upper register. That's another thing I've talked about in the past is how bore size can affect the accuracy access to the upper register. And I certainly felt that in this case here. Now, as far as timbre goes, I really liked the 897Z. Again, as an instrument of this size, I still thought it kept some warmth to the sound. It was balanced. It's going to be a little bit more focused sound. It's going to be a little bit lighter to it, and maybe it's going to have a little bit more ping on the front, but it wasn't over the top. It wasn't edgy. Frankly, it reminded me a little bit of, for example, the Con 4H. Maybe not quite as broad and warm a sound as what I've experienced with the 4H, but certainly had some of that, but still retaining a little bit of that king-like ping to the front there, versus the 891Z, where, again, I just felt like the sound was more open. With that being said, I felt like in comparison to the 897, it didn't have quite the same impact to it. Now, one of the things I have experienced with this particular horn before is if I want to give it a little bit more front, a little bit more projection, you throw in the longer New York lead pipe and it can give it a lot of that as well. And again, that's one of the things I like about lead pipe options like this and some of the others. They really can change the character of the instrument. I think that's really, really great. And so, again, both of these, I think, have a lot of potential to really be able to kind of more closely fit in what somebody is looking for. If you are somebody who likes a little bit smaller setup, something a little bit more efficient, 897, great playing horn in that. And it doesn't feel, sometimes with the modern instruments of this size, if you're talking 480, 490 type bore, sometimes they feel really, really small and tight. This didn't. And honestly, I think among all of that, the lead pipe may help with that, help to open things up a little bit. So, I mean, it can be a great option with that. And again, be a very efficient instrument, something, again, there's a reason why, people like Andy Martin, Alistair Kay helped design it, because with all of the studio type work and their just style of playing, this fits it really well. In comparison, the 508 version, the 891Z, again, is going to be a little more accessible for folks who want a little bit more open playing instrument. Of course, Yamaha designed this with both Andy Martin and with Wycliffe Gordon, especially somebody like Wycliffe who's putting a ton of air into the instrument. They're going to want something like this. It's just going to accept that. It's going to help control that kind of air a little bit more for them. So, would I really prefer one over the other? I think they're just two peas in the pod, really designed for one type of player versus another. And to me, that's a really great sign of a great design there, where it's not oh, this isn't going to work at all, or this isn't going to work at all. It really is just different flavors of the same concept. And given that it's Yamaha, it's a great concept to start with. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments about what you heard between the two, maybe you have experience with one versus the other, please leave those in the comments. Share those with our YouTube community here. If you haven't done so, think about giving this video a thumbs up. Think about subscribing to our channel. And of course, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram. So as always, thank you for watching.